Now the Honorable Judge Mercado is presiding.
Well, you guys can take a...
Man, with all due respect, he's been cuffed and shackled due to safety reasons. While he was in prison, he mentioned multiple times that he's going to bite a man's ear off once he sees him. Due to that consideration, he needs to be cuffed and shackled at all times.
That's perfectly fine. Okay. Prosecution, let's begin. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, Kennedy Cartwright, ADA.
Mr. Cashmire, are you representing yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you state your name for the record?
Collin Cashmire.
Okay. Let's start this off. Ms. Cartwright, before we get into the sentencing, is there any recommendations or anything you'd like to say?
I mean, yes, I have recommendations, and I also have a speech, whichever order you'd like that to go.
Let's go with your opening statement, or your speech, Ms. Cartwright.
Okay. First, I'd like to state that the defendant is being charged with the murder of Xander Fitzgerald. So that's my opening. Your Honor and the court, Collin Cashmire has committed one of the most heinous acts known to mankind. The defendant, over weeks of time, terrorized, stalked, and threatened the lives of two individuals who had a restraining order against him. I've personally been present, watched him resist arrest, and continued to spew nonsense. This man, in his own words, was upset because Bubba Cooper laughed at him. He became obsessed with Bubba and Bubba's girlfriend, Athena. He demanded an apology over the simple human emotion of laughter. He began stalking the courthouse, threatening their lives, posting photos on bleeders with threats, and no matter the sentences for breaking his restraining order, once out of prison, he started all over. This escalated into the tragic, senseless, and heinous death of public defender Xander Fitzgerald. He kidnapped and then stabbed Xander to death. He proceeded to drag his body to the doorstep of Athena's home, blaming Bubba for his death. He left threatening notes, along with judicial demands of cases being dropped against him, and demanding an apology from Bubba again for laughter. A man lost his life to a deranged sociopath all over an apology. Since his incarceration, the defendant has continued to smuggle phones into prison to harass those in the city and those he tormented for far too long. He has shown no remorse for his actions, and he will continue to be a threat on this city. The state therefore demands that the defendant receive the death penalty to stop the senseless violence he brings to the city, and a retribution and justice for the life of Xander Fitzgerald, which was taken too soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cartwright.
Preach. Amen.
Mr. Cashmire, is there anything you would like to say?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, people of the court, I will not argue with anything the prosecution has said. I am what I am, and I did kill Xander. I don't have any remorse for it, and I'd do it again. Quite frankly, I wish it was Bubba, but, you know. And I will accept death, because, quite frankly, if I'm put in prison and given parole, I'll just get out of prison and do it again. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay. That's a lot to take in. Thank you, Mr. Cashmire. Okay. I'm going to take a 5-minute recess, and then I'll be right back with the verdict.
Thank you.
You should probably stop with that. Your drawings.
It's part of the job.
All rise.
Oh, shit.
Court is back in session.
Cashmire, you're standing on the desk.
No, I'm not. Oh, there you go.
No, you're not.
Is that better?
Mhm.
Okay, you guys may all be seated. Mr. Cashmire, before we started, I sat back in that room for an hour I looked over your case. I read it front to back, and I read it many, many times. I'm sitting there thinking, what's the best resolution for this case? I've read the witness statements, read the reports, I've listened to Ms. Cartwright, and then I just stood here listening to your chilling statement. It's clear, and you admitted you show no remorse towards your victims and their families, or anybody for that matter. You made sure that you made them feel anxious whenever your name was said. You wanted to send a message to them, and doing so that involved taking the life of an innocent person. Clearly, a piece of paper ordering you to stay away from them is not enough, even with you getting constantly arrested for failing to follow court orders. Mr. Cashmere, is clear that no matter what, you will continue to harass, stalk, and hurt, and even end the lives of more people unless I put a stop to it. After much deliberation and with a lot of soul searching, I know that there's only one way to stop you from causing more pain to the citizens of San Andreas. With the charge of PC 2202, second-degree felony murder, I find you guilty. PC 1114, failure to follow court orders, I find you guilty. Mr. Cashmere, I hate to say this, but with the charges and the circumstances and the seriousness of the situation, I do sentence you to death. You will be placed on death row for the next 7 years until the date of your execution. That is my verdict. Court is adjourned.
All right, straight back to holding. Straight back to holding.
My eye, Mr. Cashmere.
Everyone just stay in your seats for a moment, please. Everyone just stay where you're at for a moment, please.
I'm stealing one of the cookies back.